Our next inductee is Dr. Peter Paul, who's the Associate Vice President for Brookhaven Affairs. Dr. Paul, why don't you come up while I talk about your many accomplishments. You can walk slowly because there are lots to read. Peter Paul is a distinguished service and research professor in the Department of Physics and Astronomy at Stony Brook University. On August 1, 2011, he was appointed Associate Vice President for Brookhaven Affairs in the Provost's office at Stony Brook University. In this capacity, he supports the Provost in fostering and enlarging the interactions and collaboration between Brookhaven National Lab and Stony Brook University. Peter Paul is a nuclear physicist who has worked in many sub-areas of the field: nuclear structure physics, heavy ion physics, neutrino physics, and particle accelerators. In the 1970s and 80s, he and Professor Gene Spruce from Stony Brook University designed and built one of the first superconducting linear accelerators in the nuclear structure laboratory at Stony Brook. It was used for research until 2006. He joined Stony Brook University in 1967, coming from Stanford. Over the years, he was head of the Stony Brook University Nuclear Structure Laboratory and chair of the physics department twice. In 1998, when Stony Brook University joined with Battelle Memorial Institute of Columbus, Ohio to manage BNL for the U.S. Department of Energy, he moved to the lab as the Deputy Director of Sciences and Technologies, and for almost 2 years as Interim Director. He returned to the university in 2005. In the 1980s and 90s, he served first as member and then as chair of the National Science Foundation Department of Energy Nuclear Science Advisory Committee, which advises the federal government on almost all funding for nuclear science. He has also served on many international advisory committees in Europe and Asia. He is the author and co-author of 180 articles in referred journals and books, and served in editorial functions of several high-impact international journals on nuclear and particle physics. Dr. Paul, it's our pleasure to honor you.
Well, I'm greatly honored and, in fact, humbled by this award, and I want to thank the nomination committee for bringing me up to this podium here. I take it as an expression of the luck that I had to work with so many gifted and brilliant people at Stony Brook University and at Brookhaven. In February 1967, when my wife Annika and I moved from Stanford University to Stony Brook, we were greeted on February 7th, I never forget it, by one of the largest blizzards that I have experienced since. We had never seen anything like that before, but then it seemed to occur every year, and eventually we accepted that the weather on the East Coast is really significantly different from the West Coast. However, what is not different was really coming from Stanford, which is, as most, if not all of you know, is one of the cradles of high technology in a modern sense. The same goals were alive here when Stony Brook was created and was then, as we heard, exemplified by Grumman and other corporations here on Long Island. So ever since, we've been striving to make Long Island a center for high technology. Now, admittedly, we have a way to go compared to the Bay Area. However, we have Yakov Shamash here. We all know that the Dean of Engineering at Stanford created the first industrial park. And so, Yakov, where are you? Now that you retired as Dean, take this as your job. Also, Stony Brook was here. Stony Brook University was here because Brookhaven was here. And it was a designated campus in the state system to push science and technology. And so it was very natural for me to work at both institutions. And in fact, it was a matter of great pride to myself when Stony Brook University, together with Battelle, took over the management of Brookhaven National Laboratory in 1998. Probably not many know here that at that time, the controversy about the nuclear reactor, research reactor at Brookhaven had put the lab in such peril that it might, in fact, have been shut down. But under the distinguished and enlightened leadership of Professor Marburger, whom we all remember fondly, I'm sure, the laboratory has resumed its distinguished path in science and technology and is thriving today. So, in fact, just a few weeks ago, the Secretary of Energy helped Brookhaven to start up the new $925 million synchrotron light source that is unequaled in the world, and I think it will be a major factor in attracting high technology to this area and to the laboratory. In fact, I would think the lights have never been brighter, no pun intended, because of the light source, have never been brighter for Stony Brook University and Brookhaven to act as a catalyst for high technology here on the island. The university expanding its science and engineering schools very rapidly. As former chair of the physics department, I noticed with great pleasure that the physics department has now over 380 undergraduate major in physics. Imagine that, 380 nerds all together in one building. And still growing. And the same can be said for the School of Engineering. And Brookhaven National Laboratory, as I said, with the new light source, has the premier instrumentation that will keep it at the forefront of science and engineering. And I think so it was great, with great pleasure that I participated recently in the re-competition for the management contract for Brookhaven National Laboratory. And so Stony Brook will be, for many years to come, associated with Brookhaven, and both of them together will be a great asset to the Long Island when it develops further on its path to a high technology landscape. Thank you very much. Coming up.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. Again, a well-deserved honor.